Hey there guys, Gone Lead here, bringing you some of Project Wingman. This is a game that is actually in very early alpha stages. We are basically looking at a public alpha right now. That's part of the reason why I'm able to be able to do this itself. I actually understand that this public alpha is available for you guys to play at any time, so do feel free to check out the link down below for you to be able to download this and check it out. Honestly, if you're a big Ace Combat fan, this is a game that I would highly recommend to pretty much anyone looking to get their Ace Combat fix, because, truth be told, this may be an Ace Combat clone, but it scratches an Ace Combat sized itch that has not been able to be sated for, what, 4? Well, no, I think 4 years is a little bit too long, but you get my point. It's actually one of those games that is very much worth actually playing, even in its current state. It's still actually very good. I mean, if I was told that this was what Ace Combat 7 was going to be like, I probably would have lost my shit and have been playing this to begin with. I absolutely love this game way too much for its visual appeal and the fact that it's using similar, if not the same, technology as Ace Combat 7, and on top of that too, it is actually pretty damn fun and actually quite nice to play. I actually really enjoy playing the demo of this. So, but anyways though, the reason for this video today is not only to show off the game to you guys, but also as a little bit of feedback towards the developer. I actually have been in touch with the developer of this game, so well, indirectly in touch I should say, but I still feel like as if this game, I just want to get behind it 100% and support it as much as possible. This game is just way too good, and I love playing it to no end. As I mentioned, the reason for this video today is primarily for a feedback towards the developer regarding this recent update. This version that we're doing here just dropped as of a couple of days ago from the time that I was recording this. In terms of my feedback towards it, I have to say this time I actually paid more attention to the quality of the game and the way everything actually looked and the way it all sounded. Gotta say now, the soundtrack is actually a lot better than I'd originally understood. I was told from a friend of mine that is working on the game itself that the soundtrack is actually quite good, and I hadn't actually paid any attention to it before today. And I have to agree, it is very reminiscent of Ace Combat, and it's definitely a good soundtrack for sure. I'm actually hoping to hear the rest of this here coming up soon too. So aside from commending the looks and the music of the game, I will say now I do have a couple of things that I feel like as if may need some tweaking. In terms of it, I do understand that the AI itself now has 3 different difficulty settings. Apparently there's a 4th, but I don't know how to unlock it. I'm actually kind of hoping that's just something that'll be coming in a future update, unless that's already in there. But the AI is actually something that I feel like as if was a good improvement, because on the higher difficulties it is definitely quite hard here to fight with. This first part that you're actually watching is actually primarily on easy mode, and it got pretty challenging late in the game. I ended up kind of getting sloppy towards the end, but it does actually kind of scale pretty good. But I feel like as if the AI itself focuses a lot less on combat below cloud cover. What you may actually catch me doing here towards the end of this air-to-air combat game is up against the advanced fighters. I actually made it dive to the clouds and actually started going way lower, or just staying way below the clouds, just flying close to the ground. And it seemed like as if the AI was more intent on trying to get up above the clouds than actually trying to fight. Now this little detail, I feel like it may need some tweaking, because I did notice this even on the harder difficulty too. But at that same time, it does kind of suggest that maybe there could be an idea for AI personalities, different pilots with different skill levels. Maybe some that are less skilled. Anytime that they go below the clouds, they could try to bring the fight above the clouds. That way they have more maneuvering room, or say for instance with ace pilots, they could be comfortable flying close to the ground and above the ground, you know, kind of both ways. It does kind of bring up the idea of multiple AI personalities that are worth actually exploring as maybe an option for more challenging gameplay, especially in the higher difficulties. Some of that I think could be explored. But otherwise, though, one thing that I do understand was another thing that I found was the gun sights in third-person mode. I found that the gun sights themselves, they didn't feel like as if they always lined up properly. A couple of the machine gun kills that I got, the crosshairs were either not even on top of the target, or they were on top of the target, and either I would get hits or it wouldn't count towards hits. And this only happened in third-person mode. In the cockpit view and the nose camera view, it never got this issue. So I think the gun sights may need to be tweaked on that. Now, this is more information for the developer too. The performance of the game, I understand that the developer is trying to actually gauge the performance requirements for the game. You may notice the frame rate indicator in the upper right hand corner. I've got this set to unlocked frame rates, and the frames seem to jump anywhere between as little as about 25 frames a second, I think it was, to as much as about 140. I am actually running an almost entirely AMD build, running an R9 390 for the graphics processor and 8350 FX processor for the CPU. Overall, I didn't really see much of an issue running the game, which was actually quite nice. It primarily happened when I was flying through the clouds itself, where I noticed that the frames would drop on occasion. So there are some areas where I feel like the frame rates could be improved, but overall, I mean, it ran pretty steady. I'm not gonna say that it ran perfectly steady, but it ran pretty good throughout the majority of the game. There were some aspects of it that it felt like as if the game was running a little sluggishly. I don't know if it was my system or if it was someone else, but maybe worth exploring to maybe see if we can, or if the frame rates could be improved before proceeding into Kickstarter itself, that or even after Kickstarter itself. Now, when it came to the air-to-air combat, as well as, I guess you could say, the multi-role mission too, I did notice that there was a little bit of an annoying issue with regards to the missile evasion and the missile performance itself. They don't seem 100% consistent. I don't know if this is just me or if it's something else, but when it came to the combat, the missiles themselves, it felt like as if they would not be able to be accurate beyond a certain distance, and then sometimes when they get like within, what is it, like, I'm trying to understand the units of measure in terms of that number that actually shows up underneath the aircraft name, but I think it's like once the missile gets less than 100 feet, it almost acts like as if you're towing the missile at that point, and it counts as an automatic hit. I did happen to see this with a couple of missiles that I shot, and I feel like as if I noticed it a couple of times when it came to some of the air-to-air battles that I had. So I don't know if this is me, but well worth looking into as well, considering the fact that that this is an alpha. May just be a balancing issue that may need to be explored. So I know I mentioned a little bit about the gun sights as well too. One thing I do understand is that the target tracking in this game works a lot like Ace Combat. When you push and hold the button to change targets, it's supposed to actually track the target on your camera view. This is something that I found myself doing quite a bit itself. I think I might have picked that up from Blazing Angels, but this little feature itself in the cockpit and nose camera views, it would track the target almost dead on. That I found to be kind of handy. But when it came to third-person view, I don't know if this is by design or if it's something else, but I feel like as if the camera itself is a little bit behind, I guess you could say, and it was also apparent too when during a couple of scenes that I did where basically I'd pass the aircraft at close proximity, and the camera would just take a couple of seconds to catch up. Once again, I'm not certain if this is by design, but if it isn't, then that may be something worth maybe trying to look into. But even then, too, I mean, I'm okay with it as it stands. I absolutely love flying the cockpit view. In fact, that's where I did most of the majority of my gameplay footage was in the cockpit view. It felt a lot more authentic, I guess you could say, in that view than anything else. Granted, I do understand this is an arcade game, but coming from someone that plays a hell of a lot of Arma, the cockpit view just adds so much more immersion. Which, speaking of which, I did happen to notice the cockpit view for the SU-27 or SK-27 as it's officially known as in this. It seems a lot better designed now. Like I said, the cockpit is more HD-ish. Honestly, I kind of like that. It helps with the immersion, and on top of that too, the F-18 cockpit view as well. I did notice that one was pretty well designed too. Some of the texturing I still feel was a little bit low texture or low resolution. So not all of it was perfect, but it was still overall not that bad. So, and while we're on the subject of the cockpit too, a couple of things I did notice, and this is a little bit of a recommendation that I'd make to make it a little bit easier for players that like that view. The HUD information in the cockpit view is a little bit cryptic, and I feel like that this should be addressed before the Kickstarter demo, just so that way, you know, it isn't a problem itself. Basically, when it comes to the cockpit view, the ammunition, whole 9 yards like that, is all expressed with like 1 or 2 letters, and it took me a couple of missions to actually understand what everything meant. But after a little bit of time, it became easier to understand. My whole thought is the ammo counter and display that you get in the third-person view. I feel like if a simplified version in the lower right-hand corner may be worth going with. Maybe someone just mentioning like what missiles you have and how much ammo of each, not so much the recharge timer, would be something worth adding in. Same goes for like the gun ammunition. And then in terms of like the radar itself, I know it is displayed in the lower left-hand corner, and I like that. I do like the idea that it is active on the dashboard itself too, which is quite a nice touch. And quite honestly, I think maybe there should be like a little mode that allows you to disable that in the lower left-hand corner for some aircraft that allows it, just if you want to give yourself a challenge. Honestly, I'd be doing that myself. But in terms of the radar, it is actually a good thing to have it there in the lower left. I do think that detailed targeting information could be an option there for that information in lower left. Maybe like mentioning about like hit points and the target, like what the aircraft is or what the target is, you know, things like that. Not so much a 3D render like you get in, say, Free Space or in like what's another game? I think it's like Mech Assault or Mech Warrior. I forget what other game it was, but not so much like that. Just simply something to give, like, say, hit point information, or, you know, things like that, to help people understand exactly what they're fighting or how hard or how much is left of the target. It does come in handy, especially when it comes to that multi-role mission, because I kind of had to go nuts with regards to the missiles and machine guns on the airships. Took me a little bit to get them taken care of, but after a bit I found out a bit of an exploit as well, which I'll go into in just a little bit. But it is something that I think would be most beneficial, especially when you've got multi-hardpoint airships or multi-hardpoint ground targets. It would definitely be helpful to be able to help identify, say like, oh hey, I need to get rid of all these engines I've taken out, this many, here's what's left, you know, kind of something along that range itself while you're in air-to-air combat, if you know what I mean. While we're on the subject of the weapons, one thing that I do understand that was actually kind of noticeable, I did actually do this in a second run through of the multi-role mission too. I went ahead and took the SK-27, and decided to go ahead and outfit it for the multi-role mission itself, getting rocket pods and I believe UGBs is what I put on it. Gonna say now, rocket pods are nice and handy for ground targets, but against airships they are way overpowered. A single volley is actually able to bring down one of the airships pretty dang easily, and it is something that I do recommend for balancing, to maybe try to make them a little bit less effective against aircraft and a little bit more effective against ground targets. Probably something worth balancing in the future, but at that same time, it is something that I feel like Ziff is an exploit, especially with the multi-role mission as it stands right now. Plenty fun to play, I'll give it that, but definitely kind of easy to finish off the very ending if you've got like a set of rocket pods and that's it. So, but otherwise though, that is pretty much it for my feedback towards the developer regarding this game, and even then too, it is, as you're seeing here, this is actually live gameplay footage of the game as I took it. Honestly, well worth your time to actually play it. I absolutely enjoyed playing this demo, and I probably will play more of it just to maybe see if I can find out some other quick or like faster ways of taking out targets, you know, things like that. Honestly, it was a blast to play, and I really can't wait for the final version of this for sure. Ace Combat 7, yeah, I'll admit I'm a huge Ace Combat 7 fan, and I'm definitely looking forward to that game for sure. But as it stands with this one is well worth it. Well worth looking into, well worth playing, well worth giving your time too, I think. So, but anyways though, thanks again guys for watching. If you like this video, be sure to click the like button down below to let me know. And if you also want to help my channel grow, feel free to subscribe and spread the word as well. And if you also want to help this game improve as well, feel free to check out the link down below for the Project Wingman download link, as well as keeping an eye out in the future for the Kickstarter page regarding this itself. I'll be doing possibly a live comms game of the. I'll probably be doing a live comms game of the Kickstarter demo once it's actually been released. But for now, though, this one is primarily just going to be feedback in video form. Otherwise, that's pretty much all I'm going to do here for today. But otherwise, though, thanks again guys for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye!